13 for the serious. Itachi. The horse-drawn sledge carriage rocked gently as it cut through the snow-laden road. Outside, winter ruled with quiet authority. The velvet black sky pierced by sharp stars. The lucent moon hung low, casting a silvery sheen over the frozen landscape. Inside the carriage, warmth pooled from a small brazier fixed securely to the floor. A tray of desserts arranged with the elegance of a tea ceremony on a foldable table. Yokan slices, dark and glossy. Mochi dusted with starch. Tiny senbei crackers wrapped in seaweed. Itachi didn't usually eat during discussions, but the 2 skewers of tricolored dango tempted him, their surfaces glazed to a perfect sheen. Pale pink, ivory pale, and the bottom green had a slight bluish hue. It had been years since he last ate dango. She'd prepared a generous assortment, the kind offered to honored guests. Ironic, there was little honor to go around here. The air smelled faintly of cider and Tsumugi Hime's sweet perfume. Their client sat across from Itachi and Kisame, her posture immaculate despite the jostling of the carriage. Her shiny peach-pink hair spilled over her shoulder. Her hands rested slightly atop her folded violet obi, the gesture protective in a way she likely didn't realize she was doing. Itachi's new Akatsuki partner, Hoshigaki Kisame, sat hunched on the cushioned bench, his broad shoulders brushing the carriage wall. His legendary sword Samehara tilted at a diagonal, but it was still a tight fit. "Feels like we're riding in a damn jewelry box," Kisame muttered, eyeing the lacquered carvings of the interior. Tsumugi Hime's lips curved. Does the Akatsuki not provide adequate transportation for its men? "The only time you'll see horses hauling me anywhere is when they're dragging my coffin," Kisame snorted. Kisame was many things. Dangerous, sharp in his own way, but he would never fit into the world of curtsy and silk Tsumugi Hime came from. She was a princess from land of rice paddies, but hadn't walked through the fields of her homeland in a decade. Sent to the land of frost as a teenager, Tsumugi Hime had married its daimyo and now, as a fresh widow, ruled in his stead until the child she carried was born. A precarious position, but not an impossible one. Tsumugi Hime hid a smile. "And I pray you won't require a horse for a while yet." "But you don't pray the same for your cousin," Kisame said. "Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Palace isn't far. If there's anything you don't want overheard, now's the time." "Very well. You understand the terms." Her voice was gentle, but it carried the weight of a blade laid across her throat. "My cousin's line must be severed. Cleanly, quietly, no survivors. His family departs in 3 weeks for the New Year's festivities. You will have opportunities." At the mention of her kin, the amethyst bracelet on her wrist shimmered as her hand drifted again to her abdomen. A small, unconscious motion. "We understand," Itachi said. "The Akatsuki conduct themselves by a strict code of discretion. Granted, the discretion is returned," he reminded her, though it was highly unlikely she'd talk. There were secrets shared through trust, which if broken, was built on mutually guaranteed destruction. "I'm not doing this for me," the princess said. Peculiar that she'd feel the need to make excuses. In this company? Besides, if this was so reasonably selfless, the princess would have brought this mission to her husband's ninjas in Hidden Frost instead of outsourcing. "You aren't paying us to judge, princess," Kisame snickered. "We get paid to act." No, the Akatsuki didn't judge, didn't ask questions. But still, Itachi listened. Tsumugi Hime's pink irises flicked to him, But for all the frill and glittering stones the princess already possessed, she was hungry for more. Good. I prefer men who keep their promises. Kisame smirked. We prefer employers who pay well. A faint smile touched her lips. And we are all satisfied. Land of rice paddies had been unraveling for quite some time. The old daimyo of rice paddies was her father, but when coming under threat during the Third Great Ninja War, he'd sent Tsumugi Hime to foster in Frost. He'd remained under the protection of the only ninja village in Land of Rice, named Hidden Sound. Small and stretched thin, Hidden Sound hadn't been a match against the neighboring forces, and the Rice Daimyo was killed. Her brother had fled and reclaimed the Rice Daimyo seat once the war ended. Things had been looking up for a while, until he died too, rather mysteriously, just a few months before Itachi killed Orochimaru. Which is how the Akatsuki learned the Snake Sanin had been tangled in plots stretching across borders. In the political vacuum that followed, Tsumugi Hime's cousin claimed the position of daimyo and ruled from within the Rice Paddies Palace. Though Tsumugi Hime held a rival claim, even from abroad. At least, that was how Itachi assumed she saw it. Why else hire the Akatsuki to prune branches of her family tree? Itachi's gaze drifted back to the dango again, but was still debating with himself when Kisame reached for the one he'd been eyeing. Typical. Feeling the set of icy Sharingan on him, Kisame glanced slowly to Itachi. He grinned. Heh, you want it? Thank you, Itachi said calmly, giving in to the temptation. But from the first bite, reality fell short of expectations. It wasn't as sweet. Almonds, Kisame sniffed. I don't like squirrel snacks anyway. They made it with almonds? The letdown was palpable. Even if it carried the same name of dango, a dish didn't always taste the same across borders. The ingredients used in Land of Frost were grown under different weather conditions than Fire Country. Sometimes there were local recipe differences such as added almonds that altered the taste too. Tsumugi Hime watched Kisame. His large build, sharp teeth, blue skin and gills usually made people curious. Misinterpreting why she was looking at him, Kisame gestured to the remaining skewer. You wanted this too, princess? You might have to fight Itachi for it. She wrinkled her nose. No, thank you. I don't like almonds either. Years ago, the last time Itachi had eaten dango, it had been in a tea shop with Izumi, and the one who'd made them was his ex-teammate, Shinko. It hadn't been long before everything had to end. And maybe, just like how memories that were once pure and good had turned bitter to recall, the dango he used to love simply didn't taste as sweet anymore either. Itachi kept his expression neutral as a twinge ran through his chest, his heartbeat picking up. He hadn't known a disappointing bite of dango could stir this in him. But did it? His pulse quickened. The pink half-eaten dumpling hung skewered on its stick, but his attention snapped to the green one, the faint bluish sheen on its surface. Itachi dropped the skewer, appetite gone, and reached into his pouch, pushing aside shuriken for the little sack at the bottom. Kisame's hand froze above the senbei crackers, eyes locked on the pill bag. Itachi had two kinds of pills for different symptoms, but which was the one he needed? They'd smelled almonds, or had that been cyanide? Exasperated, Itachi fished out two black AC tablets, activated charcoal for poison. Stop eating, there's death coating my dango, he told the princess and swallowed. Kisame swore. You got poisoned? Despite having eaten more than him, neither Kisame or Tsumugi Hime showed signs of symptoms. Either one of them poisoned his food, or the poison was in the dango only. It was almost ironic. Itachi'd expected getting poisoned daily when he'd been partnered with Orochimaru, only for it to sneak up on him here. Tsumugi Hime watched horrified, her hand pressed firmly to her abdomen now, protective and instinctive. This was not my doing. You smelled elements? Itachi asked instead. I do? What does that have to do with anything? Tsumugi Hime demanded. Because the thing is, Itachi couldn't. How are you so calm about this? Itachi had heard pregnancies could make women sensitive to smells, and Kisame had a good nose. He'd instinctively turned down the dango, but there was more. Back during a happier time, when Itachi still believed his future looked like clan duties, Konoha missions and family, he and Shisui had tested out poisons in the yard with Shisui's teammate, Yugao. A practical testing and poison training day had ended in Yugao teaching Haruhi and Sasuke about antidotes. During the show and demonstration part of the lesson, they also learned Itachi and Yugao didn't pick up the cyanide smell like the rest could. Curious why, Yugao looked the topic up in her medical book. I think I found out what's happening. Yugao showed them the page. Around 40% of people smell the bitter elements from cyanide, which means 60% doesn't. It's more average than not, Itachi-kun. I'm sorry you're average, Itachi. Here, you can have my antidotes. Haruhi had pushed the little pill box Yugao had given her with common antidote tablets. You'll need it more than me, since I'm special I can smell it coming. Itachi laughed, accidentally offending his cousin. Don't laugh! Haruhi harumphed, cheeks ballooning with air. Her big black eyes narrowed to slits. The little kitten thinking herself a lion. What if someone poisons your dango, Yeah, Sasuke agreed. You're such a sweet tooth, Itachi-ni. And then you drop dead from dango. Haruhi pretended eating an invisible piece of dango before swinging onto the lawn with exaggerated theatrics. Shisui barked a laugh and Haruhi broke character too, giggling along. Though what a way to go! Please, that'd just be embarrassing. Shisui helped his sister up, still chortling. I'd never let Itachi live that down. The memory gave Itachi pause. That was eerie. But even if his cousin once suggested killing him with dango half a decade ago, and she surely must want him dead, somehow Itachi didn't believe Haruhi was behind this failed murder attempt. Regardless of sense of smell, carrying antidote pills was always useful. It couldn't counter all poisons, but Itachi had stopped after one bite. He'd eaten a full meal before they left, and the antidote should elevate the worst, if it was cyanide. If he was mistaken, well, time would tell. I hate politics, Kisame muttered. Tsumugi Hime's expression tightened. This is more than politics. If my cousin's line falls, my child's claims can unite the lands, but there are those who prefer that never happen. Kisame blinked. This was meant for you then. It wouldn't be the first time. I will have word with my food taster, she said, sounding as if the food taster wasn't already dead, she would be soon. My medic is at the palace too, and we're almost there. The carriage slowed as they approached the frosted palace gates. Tall, imposing, flanked by flickering torchlight in the glacial night. Guards wearing the uniform of Hidden Frost hurried forwards, swinging the gates open for Tsumugi Hime's carriage. The moment they stopped, Kisame shoved the carriage door open. Inside, now. The frigid wind blew through Tsumugi Hime's hair as she stepped out carefully, one hand steadying herself on the frame. Itachi followed, the headache kicking in as he scanned his surroundings. Who'd done it? Was the culprit inside or outside that carriage? Itachi ate the dango, but that had been chance play. Any of them could have reached for it. It had been the princess's carriage. Kisame took the dango first, but Itachi ate it. So who'd been the intended target? Between the three of them, their list of enemies was too long to count. Itachi kept tabs on his blooming symptoms. He attributed his cooling toes and fingers to the bitter climate. but the increased heartbeat, headache, and dizziness stayed consistent with cyanide poisoning. The discomfort wasn't reason to let this temporary weakness show, but the princess still called for the medic. "There's no need," Itachi told her. "I insist." Tsumugi Hime wouldn't hear it, and Itachi didn't want to draw more attention. Something tugged at him, a hollow whisper making his neck prickle. Itachi turned. On the hill behind them, silhouetted against the star-strewn sky, stood a shape. The snow around it shimmered untouched, a grim outline carved in moonlight and shadow. The size was almost bear-like, but no, bears hibernate. Kisame came up to him, Samahara in hand. "Feeling it?" He didn't answer, though when Itachi glanced back, the shape had gone. A snowy field left glittering in silvery moonlight, and the shadowy beast nowhere to be seen. A trick of the light? Or another symptom? The gates closed. The medic reached for him. Itachi stepped back. "Don't." The cold settled in his bones. The nausea followed. Haruhi. Sunlight spilled through the gridded windows, soft and golden. A crackling fire kept the hall warm against the lingering spring chill outside. The steady rhythm of their spar brought a deep, welcome clarity, anchoring Haruhi to movement and intent. The dojo's uncluttered floors cleared room for the ritual of practice, to acts and traditions repeated 1,000 times by 1,000 different Uchihas. That connection, that sense of purpose, was of the few reliable methods that chased away old nightmares and worrisome distractions. Grounded in the here and now, nothing could touch her. Well, almost nothing. Shiho jabbed her staff forwards, and Haruhi only avoided a bruised cheekbone by tilting her head at the last possible second. She twisted, staying just ahead of the wooden stump and lifting her own staff to parry. But the expected clank never came. Shiho withdrew at the last moment, while Haruhi's staff whooshed over empty air. Damn it, she overcommitted. Sharp of mind as any Uchiha was sharp-eyed, Shiho took the opening. Haruhi scrambled to get her staff in a defensible position. Haruhi twisted awkwardly, only just hooking her staff under Shiho's second jab. Her stick slid along the surface of Haruhi's, who redirected the thrust harmlessly past her stomach. "Ha!" Haruhi exclaimed. But Shiho, deciding the stick wasn't really needed, kicked the back of Haruhi's knee, and she buckled spectacularly. Haruhi lay sprawled like a starfish as Shiho placed the butt of her staff to her throat. "You didn't use the staff!" Haruhi exclaimed, pushing away the wood. "So?" "It's bow staff practice!" Shiho reached down, helping Haruhi to her feet. "It's not like I brought Shuriken to a stick fight." "True," Haruhi conceded. It was fair, and the outburst was more of a gut reaction. Even all this time later, it irked her whenever Shiho got a win, though it wasn't fair. Shiho hadn't been in a coma or regressed. Haruhi had been through significant setbacks, she knew. Yet when she began sparring again, only to repeatedly get defeated by Shiho, it had been a lie to pretend it hadn't bruised her ego. Once upon a time, it had taken her 5 seconds to defeat Shiho, but now it was Haruhi that kept ending up on the floor, making her wonder, how weak am I now? Until it dawned on her that maybe it wasn't only Haruhi who'd gotten worse, maybe Shiho had improved too. An extra year in the academy explained some of it. Haruhi couldn't expect to win at staff combat on her first day when Shiho had a year's more practice under her obi. But it didn't explain everything. Lately, Shiho had spent more hours in the training yard than with her books. Her taijutsu grades had climbed from mediocre to good. Shiho couldn't win against the likes of Neji or Sasuke. But she wouldn't go down in one punch either. She was developing a style that suited her, even if it was a bloody annoying one. Shio didn't like getting hurt, so she did everything to end things quickly. Shio analyzed her opponent and went into a match targeting anything that hurt the eyes, the groin, or injuries. Every action had a logic to it. Right after the hospital cleared her for combat practice, Harui had served as a particularly good victim to this strategy. It was Harui's fault, and she'd nagged her friends into helping her while still being like one big throbbing bruise of weak spots for Shio to poke at. Targeting her scarred neck, her head, her slowed reflexes, and she kept sniffing out the areas Harui struggled most to defend. Though Tenten had better strength and stamina, it was easier to fight her than Shio, which was new. At least Shio never went too far, only just enough to hurt without damaging Harui permanently, and winning as she went. Harui hated Shio for it, and she loved her for it too. Harui'd rather her friend wheedle out her weaknesses now than be made aware while fighting a foe out to harm her. Besides, getting outwitted by Shio in increasingly ridiculous ways, she'd won by twisting Harui's ear once, was a huge motivator to improve. It took Harui months to look past Shio's annoying tactics and start asking, why? Why was Shio suddenly so much better? This new Shio wasn't quite like the one Harui recalled, who attended the academy out of expectations, not because it's where she thrived. Harui'd noticed that Shio had a lot in common with Hermione, though if the two crossed paths, Harui couldn't decide whether they'd be best friends forever or eternal rivals. They were both such know-it-alls. But while Hermione never shied away from showing everyone she was the smartest in the room, Shio didn't take the same pride in her gift. Maybe because it meant less in Konoha. Being a genius here differed from being a genius in England. In a world of different priorities, Shio would be a straight-A student who crushed all her classes. But because she lived in a ninja village, where physical capabilities and chakra manipulation decided 90% of her grades, Shio was regarded as a student more aching to run than the Hermione kind. Muscle meant more than brains, and being a genius wasn't who could understand complex maths or remember the most information, but who could overpower the other. Harui was sure adults praised Shio more after putting away her books in favor of kunai. But did that alone explain how she got so much more physically disciplined? It could be a coincidence. Maybe Shio just figured she'd take her training seriously? Or maybe having a classmate killed and a friend cut down had something to do with it too. Harui had been so consumed by what happened to her, how her life had changed, that she missed the way Shio was affected, even Tenten. It wasn't in the same way as Harui or Sasuke were affected, but somehow, they were better friends now than his classmates. That last kick, was it a setup or luck? Harui asked Shio, massaging her sore hip. A combination. Your staff work held up, but I hope to keep you busy enough for a kick. Shio shrugged. But I based that approach on outdated assumptions of your reaction time. Next time you'll retaliate. It was risky. That can be said of all combat. Harui lifted the staff, twirling it in one hand like a fan. Alright, next round. Can we switch? Can I go offense while you stand defense? Shio sighed. She'd improved, but she still wasn't a fan of getting hurt. Fine. Their practice lasted another hour until Sasuke came home from his run. Drawn by the sound of smacks and shuffling, Sasuke appeared in the doorway, sweat damp and breathing hard. Hi Sasuke, Harui said, brightening. He barely looked at her before his gaze slid to Shio. His expression cooled instantly. It's you. He didn't wait for a reply, just shut the door and walked away, and the silence he left behind felt heavier than it should. Shio adjusted her glasses, trying to play it off. He's been like that a lot lately. Harui tried for a shrug. He's just tired. But would the old Saskia have acted so dismissive of her friends? Saskia's arrival ended their training session at a bit of a downer. The uneasiness lingered while they cleaned up the dojo floor until Shio sighed. There must be something in the water, she mutters. You know, Neji's been the same at school, all clipped and distracted. Haruhi tilted her head. Neji? How can you tell? Isn't prickly his default setting? To you, maybe. Shio leaned on her staff, letting it take some of her weight. But he was pretty rough during practice yesterday, and at home I heard my parents talking about his family. The Hyuga? Haruhi asked curiously as they left the dojo and headed towards her bedroom. Shio nodded. I overheard them last night after I had gone to bed and I went to get a glass of water, and Mom said, I did not expect the Hyuga incident was because of that. She frowned. And Dad answered, we always knew there was something off there. What did they say when you asked? Because she would have asked. Shio shrugged, helpless. I don't know. They didn't elaborate. Dad just told me to get back to bed. She waved it off lightly. But it's probably nothing. Hyuga family stuff. And people can be such gossips. You know how it is. Yeah, once. Haruhi thought as she slid open the shogi door to her bedroom, letting Shio go in first. But if it's family related, she added, I didn't notice anything about his cousin. She's in my class. Then maybe it's exaggerated. Shio stepped inside, thoughtful. Nothing gets blown out of proportions faster than clan affairs. The higher the status, the more everyone wants to know their dirty laundry. She paused, considering. I'm going to ask Mom one more time. Her tone was casual, but for all her insistence that it was probably nothing, she clearly wasn't ready to let it go. Then, with a small shake of her head, she changed the subject. Anyway, speaking of the ways of the elites, I still can't get over how you have a dojo in your own house. Haruhi happily took up the thread. Sasuke's father was the Uchiha clan head. He used to hold business events and such here. I get it, but I sort of thought your old house was big. This is something else. Shio hummed and plopped down on the desk chair. This room is bigger than your old one, right? Yes. Is it really your room, though? Yes? Haruhi repeated, curious what Shio was getting at. You don't plan to switch out with a guest room? No, Haruhi shrugged. Why'd I do that? I can see the pond from here. An empty pond, Shio muttered wryly. Don't you think this still feels like an office? You're using boxes and bags to store your things because your uncle's police stuff is still up on the shelves, and you've been here for over a year. I guess. When Haruhi moved into her new bedroom, Sasuke had packed away his father's stuff first. He'd pushed aside the desk and shelves and dragged in a bed from the guest bedroom. Haruhi'd never lacked for space though, and made herself comfortable while trying not to rearrange her dead uncle's belongings. She'd gotten used to it. All I'm saying is that it doesn't seem like your room. Shio swiveled on the chair. You're not sick anymore. You can get around on your own and fix things how you'd prefer. I remember you had such a nice room in your old house. Why don't you try to make this more like that one? Yeah, maybe I will. Had Haruhi known Shio's redecorating suggestion would cause a butterfly effect that spiraled into a knitting epidemic, then sure, she'd be puzzled. But Haruhi had many regrets, and that wasn't one of them. Would you mind if I put your father's things into storage? Haruhi asked Sasuke as they walked into classroom G. After a year back at the academy, Haruhi had settled into her new class dynamic. The biggest adjustment wasn't the new classmates or different teacher, but Haruhi's place in the hierarchy. In her former class, Haruhi had been popular and the best scoring student. But now, she'd started in the middle and had to clamber her way oh so slowly upwards. Sasuke was her new Neji, but from our first day, Haruhi was too far behind to overtake him. Not unless Sasuke had an accident that took him out for months too, which he'd never allow. I'd like to use the shelves and drawers instead. Are you alright with that? For what? Sasuke asked. My stuff. What stuff? You packed away things from my house, right? While I was at the hospital, so it wouldn't get damaged? I want to see if I can make use of some of it. Make the room a bit more mine. Why? Can I pack it or not? It's your room. You can do what you want. Sasuke circled around the desk to take the window seat. Haruhi claimed the middle one, mostly to keep Sasuke from being swarmed by admirers the moment they walked in. Haruhi rolled her eyes. Sure, I can. I'm asking if you're okay with it. Yes or no? Yes. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Happy? Delighted. Haruhi smiled, relieved. A year ago, he'd have bitten her head off for even suggesting they move his dad's belongings. Good morning, Sasuke-kun! Yamanaka Ino chirped as she skipped up to their desk. Sasuke scoffed, the easy air from a moment before drifting off like dust on a breeze. Morning, Ino, Haruhi said while her cousin pretended to be fascinated by the courtyard. For once, it made sense. Outside, Naruto had plastered his face against the window, cheeks and lips squished into a grotesque goldfish impression. Haruhi laughed. Sasuke shot her a sideways look, the kind that said, Don't feed the strays, you know better. Good morning, Haruhi. Somehow, Ino's smile grew even brighter when she turned to Haruhi. How did it go yesterday? Did you have time to practice? Haruhi tore her gaze away from the window just in time to avoid witnessing Naruto turn around, yank down his pants and moon them. She wasn't in the mood to get reacquainted with her breakfast. Ino grimaced. Idiot. The other kids in the room stirred, a blend of outrage, laughter, and exasperation. Another Tuesday and another Naruto shenanigan. I did, Haruhi said. My friend Shio helped. I think I should be fine too, Ino said breezily, willfully ignoring Naruto's antics like a seasoned veteran. My dad taught me, and I remember the lesson pretty well. What about you, Sasuke-kun? Did you practice with your cousin? Ah! Haruhi turned towards the screen. Hinata had gone beet red and bolted back into the hallway. A perfectly reasonable reaction to Naruto's bare backside pressed against the glass at 8 in the morning. Will you stop it? Ino shouted at the window. Class is starting, you pervert! Naruto pulled up his pants and sprinted towards the entrance doors. He's such a nuisance, Ino rambled. I bet he didn't do any of the work Hiruka-sensei assigned us. Sasuke shrugged. Unfortunately for Ino, her charisma only seemed to land on the wrong Uchiha. Haruhi smiled politely out of habit, but Sasuke remained unmoved. Ino tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, all sweetness. Though I bet someone as strong as you don't need to practice. She was popular, a good student, the Yamanaka clan heiress, and very used to getting what she wanted. And what Ino wanted, very obviously, was Sasuke. Why was anyone's guess. Whomever Ino imagined Sasuke to be, she hit wildly off mark. Yet Ino fawned after her cousin like a house elf after her master. And she wasn't alone. The number of girls in class who had a crush on Sasuke was bizarre. Ino, Amy, Sakura, Fuku Kazumi, everyone. It made it awkward for Haruhi, who could never tell whether Ino saw her as an ally to chum or an obstacle to remove. Ino's flawless kindness towards her didn't always feel genuine, though it was hard to accuse someone of being too polite and inclusive. And she was. Well, as long as Haruhi remembered her name, she was. It should be fun. Haruhi elbowed Sasuke. I'll get to hit you with a stick. Sasuke scoffed, but Ino giggled. I'm sure Sasuke-kun's too strong. Debatable. I've hit him with worse. Ino waved it away. Sasuke-kun's a gentleman and going easy on you. Haruhi snickered. Sasuke, a gentleman? Weren't gentlemen supposed to be polite? Respectful? Haruhi defended Sasuke until she was blue in the face, but he didn't make it easy when her cousin could be as rude as a testy ostrich and respected nothing but vengeance. There were days her cousin walked around as grumpy as Severus Snape at the Yule Ball, determined to give detention to anyone who dared have fun. He'd be the last boy in class to hold the door open for a girl. But because Sasuke was both pretty and introverted, everyone projected traits onto him that he absolutely didn't have, like manners. It's not that Sasuke didn't know how to be polite, he simply chose not to. Somehow that only made him more appealing. Sasuke stared ahead, jaw tight, shutting down when too many people pressed in. Haruhi hated it. His new pastime of brooding in a corner made him not just look like Itachi but act like him too. Silent, distant, judgmental. Sasuke had always been introverted, but never like this. He could go months speaking only to Haruhi. That couldn't be healthy. It was bordering on hermit behavior. Haruhi understood why. She'd been there too, but it hammered in the importance of fighting to stay out. Being in that dark place wasn't a safe state, trapped in a pitch-dark ocean where sunlight couldn't reach. There wasn't just an absence of happiness, but an inability to feel, a disconnect from living. But people noticed. Sasuke did, and Momo. It hadn't been as quick as casting a Patronus to chase the Dementor away. Oh, if only. But once Haruhi started getting better, her views took a turn too. There were times she wondered whether Sasuke was still there. Sasuke's experiences that night weren't identical to hers, but the aftermath had carved them differently. So many of Haruhi's scars were on the outside, cut across her face so boldly it was the first impression people judged her by. The pity could be batshit infuriating, but the different way Sasuke was treated also made her realize, to some extent, she was allowed an outlet he wasn't granted. Haruhi could mention her months in a coma and hospitalization and say, "Look what Itachi reduced me to." And even strangers got it. Haruhi could point at her scar and say, "Look what Itachi did." And people got it. But Sasuke had no cuts, no lightning bolt scar. He remained the same in class and a top student. And maybe that's why people misread him so badly. They called his tension deep when he was angry. They called his silence mysterious when he was depressed. He could only point to the nothingness left behind. But how are people supposed to interpret nothing? How could someone as closed off as Sasuke prove a negative? It could never be like before. Haruhi understood that. And yet, she really missed the old Sasuke, the one she called her favorite cousin. She thought she caught glimpses of him now and then, briefly and far between. Yet even with his changed attitude, he was undisputably the most important person left to her. More than anything, she wanted him to be okay. With a minute to go before class, the room dissolved into the usual scramble for seats, Sasuke's fangirls included. Sakura spotted him instantly and marched straight up the middle aisle like a niffler after gold, one with similar ferocity hidden behind her harmless appearance. "Good morning, Sasuke-kun!" Sakura trilled, shoving past Ino with a muttered, "Move away, Ino pig." "No way! I was here first, forehead girl." "I want to sit... Sakura faltered, noticing Haruhi already in the middle seat. "Can you just move to the other seat, Haruhi? I'd really like to sit next to Sasuke-kun today." "No." "You always sit with him. It isn't fair, you know. Is it so hard to move one seat over?" "Yeah, kind of." "If anyone gets that seat, it should be me. Ino bristled. I was here first. Sasuke stared straight ahead, pretending none of them existed. Not that Haruhi blamed him. If she were him, she'd retreat into her mental fortress and pretend it wasn't happening either. Unfortunately, that left her as the unwilling gatekeeper. Haruhi folded her arms and leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. The message was clear. She wasn't moving. Not for Sakura, not for Ino. I am a rock. Sakura's eyes narrowed, calculating. Haruhi caught the look and grinned. Go on, try it. Ino, giving up on the middle seat, tried to shuffle into the third seat instead. But Sakura grabbed her by the hair and yanked her back. Don't try it, you ugly! Okay, now it was getting ridiculous. Take it somewhere else, will you? Shikamaru grumbled from the aisle. He and several others were stuck behind the bickering girls. You're blocking the way. Haruhi's in my seat and Ino Pig's trying to steal— I don't care, Sakura. Shikamaru cut her off. Just move already. Troublesome. From behind Shikamaru, with his pants back on, Naruto's voice rose in a dramatic whine. Sasuke, Sasuke, Sasuke! Ino, Haruhi and Sakura-chan are arguing over him again! Why? Why are all the girls so crazy for it, Teme? He isn't that cool! He'd surged to her face. Excuse me? Did that buffoon just lump her as one of Sasuke's fangirls? I just don't get why he's popular! He doesn't even try! That's probably why, Haruhi muttered, while Sasuke looked personally offended by the idea. I train, I study, I put in effort. Sure, your pranks. And Sasuke just sits there like a decorative plant and everyone loves him. Sasuke blinked. A plant? He waved at him. Yes, a plant! A very popular plant! For all his proclaimed work ethics, Naruto wasn't the Rock Lee type of that last. Lee never missed a class, worked tirelessly for his goal, and his poor grades wasn't a reflection of the countless hours he put in. But Naruto's scores were a better reflection of how little effort he put in. Naruto could be funny, and Haruhi was often flummoxed by the amount of energy he packed. Growing up, Haruhi'd been called hyperactive, but compared to Naruto, she looked a slug. Still, there was a line. It couldn't be fun all the time. Naruto always insisted he was a big deal and wanted to become a ninja, but hated learning to become one. So what did he think a ninja was? If it wasn't fun, he'd ditch it and go find something more exhilarating. She once had a family to fall back on, but now Iruka-sensei was her only path to a future, and it's not like Haruhi dragged herself to the academy every morning to crack fart jokes. At home, maybe. Inku would get so mad though, but not here. Naruto, however, seemed to show up only to place a fart pillow on a teacher's chair. What's your problem with me? Sasuke grumbled. I didn't ask for this. Ino sighed dreamily. He's so humble. Exasperated, Naruto threw his hands up. See? He just exists and they swoon! Meanwhile He gestured vaguely at himself, as if the universe owed him an explanation. So tell me what's so special about the guy, eh? Haruhi snorted. You tell me, Naruto. Eh? He didn't see the irony then. Sasuke, Sasuke, Sasuke! Haruhi repeated in the exact tone Naruto used earlier. Fight me, I'll beat you. Honestly, Naruto, I don't see anyone chase Sasuke more than you do. I do not chase him! Naruto denied. That's you! You're always trailing after him! We live together. She gestured between herself and Sasuke. I'm walking home. But why are you in the Uchiha district, huh? I was just looking around. But man, do you guys live in the creepiest district in Konoha? Sasuke sneered. Would you learn to shut up for 5 seconds, you wandering migraine? Naruto's brand of annoyance got under Sasuke's skin in a way Ino or Sakura didn't. Maybe because he was the loudest, or the most energetic, the most chaotic? Naruto was full of life. And as disruptive as the blonde always was, Haruhi almost wished he had a better class attendance. On the days he showed up, Sasuke was a little more alive too. He was an orphan as well, which made it even stranger that he treated the academy like a playground. Haruhi didn't know whether to envy his energy or worry about where it would take him. Who'd catch him if he failed? At that moment, Iruka-sensei strode in. Conversations snapped shut, and everyone still standing scrambled for the nearest spot. Though the earlier seating disputes came to nothing because... We're going to practice outside today. Iruka-sensei pointed towards the doors. Come along, file out. You're going to learn how to apply bow staffs in combat. Iruka-sensei was circling them through different weapons. First the katana, then the tanto, then nunchucks, which had caused a lot of tears when 30 kids ran around swinging sticks on chains. They had a week with smoke bombs, the only class Naruto had perfect attendance with, and the latest was the staff. Remember what I said yesterday? One side defends, the other attacks. You'll switch so everyone gets practice. Got it? Iruka-sensei pointed sharply. Girls over there, boys with me. The class split into 2 clusters, and within minutes, the boys' side developed into anarchy. Sticks cracking, kids yelling, and Iruka-sensei sprinting between them to stop someone from losing an eye. Their side was calmer, and not only because the girls numbered a third of the boys. Even without supervision, they spaced out neatly, paired up, and actually followed instructions. Ino asked Haruhi to work with her, and they found a spot safely out of others' staff swing radius. Ino had training and the confidence to use it, but this still wasn't her preferred class. Across the yard, it seemed far livelier. Haruhi glanced over just as Naruto charged Sasuke with the staff, completely ignoring Iruka-sensei's shout, "You're supposed to defend, Naruto! It's not your turn to attack first!" Dead last against the top student? It didn't matter if Naruto stood defense or offense, he wouldn't beat Sasuke. But enthusiasm? Hitting Sasuke with a stick was practically his calling in life. "I'm going to kick your ass, Tadameo!" Naruto bellowed, leaping after Sasuke. His swings had plenty of force but zero technique, leaving Sasuke to deflect him without breaking a sweat. In contrast, Ino performed a few textbook-accurate jabs. Nothing wrong with her form, yet so half-hearted. And when Haruhi knocked them away, she immediately dropped her staff to retie her hair. For a lesson all about hitting each other with sticks, the girls' side was painfully dull. He might be an obnoxious punk, but Naruto kept things lively. Watching the train wreck happening while Sasuke took his time playing with his food, Naruto inadvertently demonstrated the girls' problem. There was a lack of engagement, no drive and minimal motivation, not even a teacher to score them, since Iruka-sensei was preoccupied preventing a boys' night out spent at the hospital. "Hey, Ino?" Haruhi said slowly, struck by an idea. It would definitely spark a fire under her opponent. But oh boy, Sasuke was going to hate it. "Give me 2 minutes, okay, Haruhi?" Ino combed her fingers through her hair. "I need to tie it properly before we go again." "Can I stand defense again?" Haruhi asked, twirling the staff. "Iruka-sensei said we have to switch." "Iruka-sensei isn't paying attention." "Well, it's your turn to do the work," Ino said reluctantly. "Offense is harder than defense." "Really?" Haruhi turned to the rest of them, Alright girls, listen up! The scattered swamps and clacks of staffs stopped. 9 girls turned towards her. Any of you want to fight me? Haruhi challenged, smile sharp. I'll stand defense. The first to disarm me gets my seat for a month. Ino froze, and Sakura's eyes went wide as saucers. Your seat? Amy asked, glancing between Haruhi and the boys. The seat next to Sasuke-kun? The very one, Haruhi said. This is your one chance. Any of you brave enough? For a month? Yes. I'll fight you, Haruhi! Sakura stepped forwards, brandishing her staff. No way! Ino grabbed hers too. You're my partner! I'll fight you! You had your turn! Kasumi pointed her staff at Haruhi, eyes blazing. I'll fight Haruhi! It worked... maybe too well. A shiver ran down Haruhi's spine. Her adrenaline spiked. What the... Iruka-sensei spun around just in time to see 8 girls launching themselves at Haruhi. Girls! Haruhi might as well have declared war. She braced herself as they crashed over her like waves upon a shore. A perfect storm of shrieking, determined fangirls. And something strange happened. It should have been her worst nightmare, but instead, Haruhi snapped into focus. Not Sharingan sharp, but battle crisp, like plunging her head into ice water. It was 8 against 1 in a tangle of unpredictability. These banshees meant to hurt her, not in a deadly way, but enough to zap a nervous thrill through her veins. She sidestepped the first staff, the girl flying past her and crashing into another. Haruhi dodged Ino and kicked her in the hip, sending her skidding out of range. Amy and her 2 besties jumped her next. Haruhi redirected Amy's staff straight into Kasumi's face, then swept Fuko's legs out from under her. The short girl hit the ground and curled for fear of getting trampled. In the mayhem, the only girl who didn't find Sasuke worth it was Hinata. She watched anxiously from the sideline, wringing her hands. Haruhi didn't understand why. This was the most thrilling challenge she'd had in ages. The Hyuga was missing out. This is not what I told you to do! She heard Iruka-sensei shout somewhere behind her. Hinata, why are they ganging up on Haruhi? Don't you know it's not that long since she recovered? Haruhi-chan challenged him, Iruka-sensei. Hinata stammered. She said whoever could disarm her could sit next to Sasuke-kun for a month. She said what? Sasuke snapped. Don't worry, Sasuke! Haruhi panted. I've got this! I'll protect your virtue! One-on-one, Haruhi could take any of them. But as a group, 8-on-1, swarming as ferocious beasts determined to sting the hell out of Haruhi? No, it wasn't easy. But it was exhilarating. I won't be defeated! Sakura cried. This is a test of love! Haruhi was in the heat of the game. The lone seeker faced against the whole Slytherin team. But they were no Itachi. They weren't backstabbing. They fought her head on. And Haruhi wouldn't get taken off the pitch this time. She was going to get that snitch. And she was going to win. This isn't a fair fight, Iruka-sensei bemoaned. It's not what I meant. Well, Choji said. Haruhi's in defense, Iruka-sensei, and the others are attacking. So they're kinda doing what you said? This is supposed to be one-on-one, Choji. But Haruhi's not the one out of her depths here. Shikamaru pointed out, just as a staff sailed over Haruhi's head and smacked into Ino's hand, blocking her punch. My nail! Ino bit out, clenching her bloodied hand. Parts of the nail had been ripped off. Oh, now I'm really going to kick your ass, Scarface! Haruhi giggled. Give me your worst, Puffskein. have scheme? Ino had no idea what it meant, but was incensed even before Haruhi twisted the knife. Did I mess up your manicure, Puffle? Haruhi will win, Shikamaru drawled. Go, Haruhi! Choji cheered, parroting his best friend without hesitation. Nuh-uh! Sakura-chan will so get her! Naruto yelled with gusto. Go, Sakura-chan! It doesn't matter who's winning! Iruka fumed. Kick their asses, Ino-chan! Kiba hollered. Go for the throat! No! No throat targeting! Girls, stop it! I said stop it! No, Naruto, Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, will you stop egging them on? No one listened. Haruhi was jumping, running, ducking, swiping, alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. Why are you laughing? Ino asked between jabs. Don't underestimate us! Didn't she get it? Haruhi wasn't just keeping up, she was winning! Everything. Speed, reflexes, strength, strategy. It was coming together amidst the heat of the challenge. Her body feeling the way it used to before. 5 classmates lay defeated, groaning or crying on the ground. Most of them were taken out by friendly fire, leaving Sakura, Ino, and Amy as the last 3 standing. Maybe it made Haruhi overconfident, as that's when everything got harder. Instead of charging her one by one and hitting each other more than her, the 3 girls coordinated. Amy and Ino swung at her in tandem, and Haruhi barely got her staff up in time. Holding it horizontally, her muscles strained under the pressure of Ino and Amy's combined force pushing down on her. Then, Sakura came from above, swinging her staff in a wide arch with surprising force. Haruhi's staff split in the middle. She barely had time to react, dodging Amy's jab, sidestepping Sakura's second swing, but wasn't fast enough to escape Ino's kick slamming into her ribs. Haruhi tumbled back, her side throbbing as she rolled with the momentum and sprang back up to her feet. We got you! Ino pumped her fist, fired up like Haruhi had never seen her. Yeah! Sakura cried. We won! And the two gave each other a high five, completely forgetting they were supposed to be bitter rivals. I knew you could do it, Sakura-chan! Naruto shouted from the sideline. Idiot. Nice teamwork, but not a victory. Haruhi held up the 2 pieces of her broken bow staff. I said you had to disarm me. Your staff's broken! Sakura protested. That just means I've got 2 weapons instead of 1. Haruhi spun the sticks, testing the balance. The staff was long enough that breaking it left her with 2 katana-length batons. Honestly, an upgrade. Sakura, Ino, and Amy came at her with war cries. Ino reached first, but Haruhi hooked her right stick under Ino's staff and forced it off course, then threw her left at Amy, who went down with a crash and stayed there. Haruhi darted around Ino, using her as a human shield against Sakura. Frustrated, Ino struck out blindly, but Haruhi ducked and rolled over to where she'd left Amy, avoiding the attack and picking up the second half of her weapon, regaining her twin sticks just as Sakura closed in. Still in a crouch, Haruhi gripped the ground and kicked backwards. High enough she went into a vertical split. Her heel connected squarely with Sakura's jaw. Sakura-chan! Ooh! The spectators chorused as Sakura was knocked out like a light. And then there was 1 left to go. Look at that, Puffle! Last one standing, just like you were the first. Haruhi pointed her stick at Ino like it was a wand. Ino tore her eyes away from Sakura, concern switching into determination. And beyond! I'm the grand finale, you witch! Haruhi perked up. Thanks! Though I'd prefer you use my full title, the Witch of the Uchiha. Ino faltered while Sasuke snorted, the only one who understood the reference. Enough! Iruka-sensei appeared in a rustle of leaves between them, ending the spar. All the girls except Hinata got an earful by Iruka-sensei, while the academy medic healed scrapes and bruises. 2 detentions each. Fine, fair enough. But then he implemented new classroom rules, which Haruhi felt was an unfair overreaction. The boys caused problems every damn day, but the one time the girls got out of hand, it warranted permanent sanctions. Yet, somehow that's how their class got stuck following a seating chart for the rest of their academy days. Haruhi found herself sharing a row with Naruto and Shikamaru, while Hinata, at long last, showed regret for staying out of the chaos when she was assigned a permanent seat beside Sasuke.